people think is they think, oh, you can decouple from China, no problem. And it's a big problem. It's not easy to do that. It's not something where it's kind of like saying, oh yeah, I know the US is not a manufacturing power anymore, but we can just start working out tomorrow and we'll be, really fit. It's not something that you can just rush like that. So here, let me just show you 3 quick graphs. So first, do you see the screen there?
Yep.
Yeah. So at the top, that is like which country was the number one partner of that country for trade. And you can see the US was most countries in the world, and China just had like some countries in Central Asia or Africa in terms of where they shared greater trade. By 2020, most of the world is orange, meaning most of the world has their number one trade partner being the Chinese, and it's just accelerated over the last 3 years. Okay, so if you tell a country you need to decouple from China, and you have to choose between China and the US, that country doesn't want to do it. They certainly, they would certainly be reluctant to do it. But if they must choose, they would probably have to decouple from the US. And so if you force people to make that choice, the US doesn't have the leverage that it thinks it does. That's really important to know. Then here, and this thread basically got like, a few million views because people were not aware of it. They're not being told this, right? Here is another one, okay? This is global steel production visualized. Can you see the screen there?
Yep.
So when people say, biology, like the US will do the right thing after doing everything else, or it's just like the Malays of the 70s and we shrugged it off, and they'll kind of make these sort of vague historical analogies. The thing is, a historical analogy needs to be constrained by time series similarity. That's to say, you need to have some quantitative, some numbers that suggest that the period that you're entering now was quantitatively similar to the period before in terms of balance of power and so on, right? Rather than just saying, oh, we figured it out then, so we'll figure it out now. So, for example, this is like 1969, 1968, thereabouts. At that point, the US was making about 10x the steel of China. Today, it's 10x the other way. China's the number one steel manufacturer in the entire world, more than the rest of the world combined.
Yeah, that's really shocking.
And that's right. That's 100x turnaround. And I mentioned steel because it's a spinal column for a lot of other things, but it's not just steel. It's like, you probably heard like somebody like, talk about, oh, China doesn't have a blue water navy. That's all cope. China has the largest shipbuilding industry in the world. They do 100x what the US does. If they want to turn their plowshares into swords, they can. They're manufacturing. I mean, fighting China is like fighting your factory. They're like what the US was in 1945, just the manufacturing superpower of the world. And in any conventional war, they will out execute you because they're set up to execute.